On Monday, UNICEF delegation led by its regional chief for Eastern and Southern Africa met Tigray Interim Administration President Getachew Reda in his office. The delegation from UNICEF comprises UNICEF Country Office Director Abubakar Kompo, Head for Tigray Field Office Matteo Frontini, as well as other staff members from Country Office. During discussions, President Getachew warned the international community that the situation in Tigray can spiral out of control.
Unless we act soon, it's going to be too late. And whatever losses we have sustained in terms of human lives the last 3 years would pale in comparison to the kind of loss that is staring us in the eye, unless something is done and soon.
UNICEF's regional chief for Eastern and Southern Africa, Etleva Kadili, also agreed the situation in Tigray is gruesome, exacerbated by outbreak of disease.
It is true that there are multiple actually factors that has an impact into it. And a lot of disease outbreaks as well, access to water. So when there is no access to water and clean water, which actually has an impact on diarrhea and so on, it actually adds more into issue of nutrition and issue of well-being of children. So it's a combination. But I also think that for us it's very important the prevention, that we act and accelerate, and that's the advocacy that we are doing also with partners.
President Getachew explained that people are dying from hunger in the region.
Food aid, which is long overdue, honestly. It's been almost 11 months. And even after 11 months of, it's called pause. I don't like euphemisms. When you have like a suspension of aid of the severely affected people for 10 months, you don't call it a pause. It was almost a death sentence on hundreds of thousands of people. Even with the decision to resume food aid, only 20% of what we used to have as clearly defined vulnerable population are going to benefit from the resumption of food aid. In a region where more than 90% of the population still needs food aid, only 20% capacity is quite minuscule.
He stated that the humanitarian pause has had a severe effect on the already devastated humanitarian situation in Tigray.
And I'm going to say there is an unfolding famine. Nobody is going to tell me that people are not dying of hunger. So the last few months we have made extensive studies, and there have been days that have been occasioned among IDPs, among vulnerable groups of society in various geographic areas in the region, and the study clearly shows that 60% of the deaths that have been occasioned are essentially of lack of food. And whether you call it famine or is going to be overly academic, because what we now have on the ground is that people are dying of hunger. And nobody, not even the Archangel, is going to convince me otherwise. So whether we have to call it famine or not becomes a totally, wholly academic issue as far as we're concerned. So what we have on the ground is a situation where people are dying because of lack of food. And it is happening on a more or less systemic level, in the sense that there is little in the way of geographic territories left and unaffected in Tigray. So it is in the eastern, southeastern, southern, central, western, northwestern part of Tigray. So that is even more complicating matters when it comes to the issue of children. And of course, to the extent that you can increase the volume of support, you should. But more importantly, you should also join efforts with other organizations to make sure that the necessary support is in place.
During an interview, UNICEF's regional director for Eastern and Southern Africa, Leva Kadili, said she had a good meeting with the president to discuss areas where collaboration is much needed.
I'm here to visit actually our work of UNICEF office here in Tigray to see firsthand the work of the teams, what they're doing in terms of addressing the needs for children, but also of women as well, and communities. And I just had a really very good visit and meeting also with the president, the regional president, talking about our collaboration, our work together, and how grateful we are in working all together at federal, at regional level in support of children in Tigray.
Asked about the situation in Tigray, she stressed on the need to accelerate efforts to address the situation in the region.
Right. So we did discuss about the situation of children and women, especially the nutrition one. We remain, as UNICEF, very concerned of children that are suffering of multiple deprivations, including malnutrition, and also pregnant and lactating women as well. And we also highlighted the fact that we need to accelerate action now because of the droughts, because of many actually multi-sectoral needs that communities, children and mothers need. It's not just nutrition, but it's also other areas such as health and many outbreaks that are going on. But with droughts, this has been exacerbated, and therefore we are concerned that if we don't accelerate action now, if we don't make sure that children and families and communities have access to food, they are currently in food insecurity, and we are worried that very delayed action might lead to really worse famine that we don't want to see.
At the end of their discussion, President Getachew gave a present to the outgoing head for UNICEF's Tigray field office, Matteo Frontini.